What is up, guys? Killchain here, and we finally got some more juicy goodness in regards to Dragonflight based around professions. So I'm on the Wowhead website at the moment now. The article that shows the blue post, obviously based around our profession update. Link will be down below in the description. While you're down there, if you're feeling generous, throw a like and subscribe to the channel. It does help me out immensely. I would greatly appreciate it. But we're going to go through this and sort of give our most condensed, quickest way of explaining how I see what they've described to us. So all the other videos, there's heaps of different comments on forums, YouTube video comments and all that stuff. People seem a bit all over the shop in how they're interpreting this information. I'm just going to throw out as quickly as possible. I emphasize that because I've made this video literally 8 times now, and each time it keeps getting to at least half an hour to 45 minutes. And other YouTubers that have already posted theirs is like 45 minutes long. So everyone's talking about this a whole shit ton, but I'm going to condense it as quickly as I can. Cool. So let's just dive right in. The first part is just fluff of, yeah, professions need help, blah, blah, blah. Dragonflight's going to be great. Cool. There's 3 main areas that are going to be impacting and changing with professions: crafting orders, profession specializations, and crafting and gathering with quality. So the bulk of this article is just around the gathering and crafting with quality, and the other 2 they're just giving a brief summary on, and they state that in the article as well, that, you know, they're just, you know, briefly going to summarize, but they want to do more posts in the future. The main part that I want to talk about now is just the quality aspect. So crafting orders, I think we don't really need much more on this. We can sort of understand it pretty clearly. So there's a place that you go, very similar to the auction house layout. We pick whichever particular item we want to go. So as you can see here on the screenshot, we've got a plate, all the plate possible recipes we have. I want that particular helmet or whatever, and then you can come in and fill in the gaps. So we have our crafting actual reagents we need, or crafting materials. So as you can see, even the Tyrivite ore, if I've only got 14, I provide my 14. The blacksmith has to provide the final 6 if he has them, and then I provide some extra stuff as well. There's an opportunity for optional reagents, so this is where you can throw in your missives to say I want exactly haste and mastery, whatever the case may be. There's a commission here. You can see how long you want it to go for. You create the order, it sends it off to them. We also have a minimum quality, so obviously I can be like, I need my best in slot boots. I want my minimum quality, we do 5-star. I'm sending it to whoever will fill that order for 5-star, and that'll get me my best in slot boots. And it's going to require so many reagents, but only certain people can do it. That's fine. You can dictate the minimum quality you're accepting. So that's really good as well. Do note that some of these materials and reagents will require you to provide them. Some of them will require the crafter to provide them, and most of them probably can be required by either or, whoever's going to contribute. And this will probably affect your commission that you're going to give them and things like that, right? So these are the crafting orders. It sort of makes kind of blatantly obvious sense. A couple of really cool things, sorry. You can dictate whether it's to anyone, guild members only, or a specific individual. This is really good because it helps create that guild community, you know, organizing, okay, I'll be the blacksmither that will handle this side of things. You be the blacksmither that will specialize in this other stuff. We've got our resident tailor over there. He will make all the crafting stuff. Our enchanter over there will do this and that and all the other stuff. There's opportunity to obviously to do really cool guild synergy kind of things, which is really great. And the fact you can also do it to a specific individual. If you're well known on your server as like the go-to guy for enchanting and stuff, this is going to be great for you as well. People will be able to specifically target you and go, yep, I just want to send the guy that I've always gone to, send him all my orders and he'll make them when he can. That's going to be really great. It's also going to help massively for alts. So if I'm gearing up an alt that I need some gear crafted for, then cool, I can obviously create the order and then specifically send it to my other main character or my other alt that I know is going to craft it for me. So that's going to help with alts as well. That's crafting orders. Makes super amount of sense. I don't think many of us are really confused when it comes to that. Profession specializations, there's a lot of open air of how it's going to function, but reading between the lines, you sort of get an idea. They, throughout the whole post actually, they mention, you know, specializing in pathways or going down a certain path of specialization. They use the word path a lot. So combine that with the fact that we know it'll be for primary crafting and gathering professions. Once you've hit a high enough skill, and then you can use specialization points. So requires a certain amount of skill. There's a pathway you sort of go down and spend points. So I can guarantee you this is basically going to be a profession talent tree. So a tree of specializing however you want it, but the whole point is it's a fucking talent tree, okay? Now, the other thing that will be key to note as well is it's once you've reached a high enough skill. This means that there's not broad spectrum talent trees of just, this is your crafting talent tree and this is your gathering talent tree, and it's just increased chance to gather, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be very specific and specialized to each profession. We know that because it requires a skill. For example, if I have a skill, let's say I get mining and blacksmithing, you're not going to be allowed to just get the high enough skill in mining and then that will then in turn allow you to put points in crafting. That clearly wouldn't make sense. It will be individualized based on the professions you're picking, and then as you progress to the high enough skills and obtain certain points through specialization points through the activities, like I guarantee there'll be dailies and little things like that that'll give you points over time. That's when you spend it on the one relevant to that profession. So you will see 2 different talent trees based on whatever professions you pick. Obviously this is primary, so we're not talking about fishing and cooking and stuff, but yeah, 100%. You're going to see mining and blacksmithing. You'll see a mining tree and a blacksmithing tree, and as I level up the skills, it'll become available, and as I do the activities based on those particular professions, whether it's quests, dailies, reaching a certain level, doing certain achievements, you know, it might be like a proc 5, I'm just spitballing now, proc 5 of extra sharpening stones in blacksmithing, and if you get that achievement, maybe that'll give you another point. Little things like that. I don't know how they'll do it, but the whole point is you accrue those points. And like I said, with the wording around the whole pathway system, I guarantee this will be talent trees. So we specialize down. How the gathering side of things will go, I don't entirely know, whether it's just going to be kind of mundane things like faster speed, better chance at higher tier quality of ore. We'll get to that later. I don't know. There's not really too much you can do with gathering. Maybe it will be individualized so much that it'll be like, I'm specializing in Sinvir ore at the moment, but then I'll do Oxine ore later, that kind of thing. Whether it's that hyper, you know, min-max down to the literal type of ore that you're gathering, who knows? We'll figure it out as we get more information, I guess. On the crafting side of things, we 100% see how they could build that into a tree. We've got leatherworking that can make leather and mail, so obviously you could go down the mail side of things. Then you've got what pieces you're doing, if you're doing gloves, chests, everything like that. Blacksmithing, weapons, or plate armor, you get the idea. There's a lot of different avenues you can go when it comes to crafting. Gathering, not so much. I'm not sure how they'll do that, but it'll be interesting to see regardless. Maybe gathering just physically gets less points to spend, who knows? Time will tell. Now, the last part is the crafting with quality. So you see here that certain items will have quality. Now, I'll be honest, I saw this and I had Vietnam flashbacks of Diablo Immortal and like 5-star gem debacle and all that nightmare. So, oh God, I swear to God, if they put in the store an item like an optional reagent that you can buy for like $5, it's fine, it's just $5, that guarantees you a tier 5 quality item. Oh mate, literally, I'll fucking shoot myself, I swear to God. I don't think they'll ever do that, surely not. I don't want to give them ideas either, but I would not be surprised in the slightest if they were like 3 months in, they'll just, oh yeah, let's throw this little thing in, $5, is fine, guaranteed tier 5 item, yeah, you're fine. Oh God, I hope they don't. Anyway, so first thing they state is obviously this has nothing to do with the quality, the rarity, sorry, of the gear. So common, uncommon, you get the idea. Blues, greens, purples, legendary, yellows. Yep, you get the idea. Now, this has nothing to do with that, so fine. These particular items will then just have its own quality ratio. Gear will actually have 5 possible qualities, so all the way up to tier 5, whereas the gathered items like potions and ores and stackable items like that, those little nitty gritty ones that aren't gear will only go up to 3 possible qualities levels. So that gives us an idea, and why I mentioned it earlier when it comes to the ore and what you could do in terms of gathering points, what to specialize in. That's why I think maybe it might be hyper min-max to the point where it is Sinvir, or will have a higher chance to get a higher quality ore to come out. That then makes me start wondering, okay, how important is bag space going to be? Because if I'm gathering ore, am I gathering it in a way where that one Sinvir ore now all of a sudden takes up 3 spots because I have tier 1 quality Synvia ore, tier 2 quality Synvia ore, tier 3 quality Synvia ore. Is that then tradable? So on the auction house, are you then going to have the different quality tiers of Synvia ore based on what you want? I don't know. Time will tell, I guess. But we do know that that's how that will function. It physically is going to be impacted by the quality of the ore you get, which will in turn increase your chance of crafting the higher quality item. And we'll have a look at that in a sec down here. So this will be what the crafting, I guess, UI will now look like. The main thing is these crafting details over here. So you can see that items and recipes will have a certain difficulty level. It'll be offset by your crafting skill and then impacted in whatever ways by your resourcefulness and inspiration. Inspiration is essentially like crafting critical chance. We'll look at the actual terminology and their definitions down below. But you can see here, this gives you an idea, and the main thing you're going to be looking at is this bar. So this bar is almost like a progress bar of how much you need to do to get into the next tier. When you get into the next tier and you go up to tier 2 quality, etc., this is the guaranteed tier of quality. So if you manage to get this all the way up to 5 stars, you are guaranteeing yourself a 5-star quality item that you're creating. And naturally, this will go up based on the offset of your skill compared to the difficulty. And then whatever reagents you add, sets from profession gear, because yes, there's profession gear now, how you've specialized the character, all these little things will have an impact on how much your bar will go up. And naturally, that will then impact your chance of getting a high quality item. And while where your bar lands dictates the set minimum quality you will get, you then have to factor in the fact of inspiration. And if you do proc inspired, the buff inspired, then that means that it will naturally boost up that a little bit for that one particular craft as well. Now, keep in mind there will be a scenario where, let's say, no matter how shitty my mats that I'm providing are, I might not go below. I'm actually going to use this screenshot because it might give you a better idea. If I use worse mats, I might not actually even go below the 4-star rating. So because of that, it does mean that no matter what mats I put in, I'm still guaranteed the 4-star, but then factoring in the inspiration, if I crit at this level, that critical, inspired buff might tick me over to 5-star. Whereas if I accept the shittier mats and go down here, then maybe the inspiration critical, increase to the skill won't tick me over the 5-star. You get what I'm saying? So like there's a bit of a play and smart based around, using whatever match you can, whether you're accepting and willing to take the gamble of, just risking it and going for the critical hit to try and hit 5-star, or whether you're happy with the bare minimum guaranteed 4-star based on whatever match you put in. So this will be interesting as well. This is also, again, impacted further by optional reagents, which we've already dealt with in Shadowlands, and finishing reagents, which are new. So you can see here, finishing reagents will obviously be the final reagents you throw in there, right? And that will impact different things in different ways as well. So you can see this will increase your inspiration chance, but and also grant faster speed, which, okay, sure, faster speed, why not? Now, this isn't the only sort of finishing crafting reagent you'll get, but this gives you an idea of how that itself also has its own quality rating. So you can see the quality on a tier 3 brewed salt gives you 15 inspiration instead of only 9 for tier 1, and faster craft speed at 25% instead of 15. So even the reagents will also have their own quality, that you've created the reagent and now you all gathered it, or whatever, however you gain a hold of this particular reagent, but that'll also have its own quality rating, which will then indirectly impact the quality that you can pump out for the actual items you're using to create from that reagent. So cool, makes sense. Then you'll have different other reagents that'll also impact this little section here. Some of it might increase your skill. That's where that crafting inspiration thing comes from. Then you'll also have the recipe difficulty you can see here. So tier 1 quality of this missive, while both guarantee the crit and haste, the tier 1 means your recipe difficulty goes up by 15, whereas the tier 3 that still gives crit and haste only makes the recipe difficulty go up by 10. So here's an example where, as you can see, the higher quality directly impacts the difficulty versus the offset of your crafting skill, which means this bar will go more up and more chance of getting a high quality item. So that, it sort of starts to make sense as well. Now, I've already mentioned how, you know, the inspiration chance, and if it does proc, can impact based on where your line is. If it's guaranteed to go up, I don't know, 50% of the current skill wherever you're at. If you're above that 50 line, you know that you might be able to proc and win a 5-star, whereas if you're below it, then you know you won't. So again, that'll come into play with what mats you do or don't choose to use and how high you can get that progress bar. So that'll be interesting. Now we actually have the actual stats and what they do and mean. So inspiration, you can see here, has an increased chance to be inspired, crafting this recipe with extra skill. Now keep in mind, it crafts that recipe with extra skill. This won't mean that you're skilling up in terms of like, oh, I've crafted an item so my leatherworking went from 35 to 40 instead of 35 to 36. I don't think that's what they're referring to. I think we're all sort of on board with that this is directly referring to this crafting skill, which impacts this progress bar to get a higher quality. Okay. And then resourcefulness, amazing. Honestly, it means it uses fewer tradable reagents like ore, etc., like herbs. And that alone is going to be even better, not only just for you personally being able to sell stuff, if you create BOE items and things like that, but even when someone wants someone to craft the best in slot item for them, why create the best in slot item for this guy over here that requires 10 ore when you can do it for 5 ore? And they're going to be cheaper for them. They'll come to you because they tangibly get a better result. And you're probably going to get a better commission out of it. They'll give you a bit more of a tip or whatever based on the fact that you've got a higher resourcefulness, which means you use less mats. So happy days. That's a really good stat. Multi-craft, I think this is brilliant as well. Always love being an alchemist and procking like 5 flasks off a craft and, you know, give the person that it procced for 2 and you get to keep 3 extra. And yeah, it was really good. So this is really cool, and it does only work for stackable items. So blacksmithing, for example, you might work for sharpening stones because they're a stackable item, so you can proc multiple sharpening stones, but it wouldn't work, for example, a best in slot helm. Like I just said, procking more best in slot helms doesn't make sense. And they've obviously agreed, so it only works for stackable items. Again, if you're a particular blacksmith that perhaps specializes in just making gear, then you don't care about it as much or at all. Whereas your alt that does alchemy probably wants multi-craft quite heavily. Lastly, we have crafting speed. This is the dumbest one of all of them. Yeah, for people that want to pump out massive amounts for the auction house, right? I understand that. But even those people that will literally set up and craft 400 of a particular item all to upload onto the auction house, and they just want to do it quicker, whether it's, you know, oh, I'm spending 3 hours crafting versus 2 hours crafting, or 1 hour crafting even, they're still going to prefer the better stats that actually tangibly make them better, not just time saved. Because you just hit craft and you walk off and do other stuff like housework or whatever. So this one's a bit dumb. I don't entirely see the purpose of that, but hey, it is what it is. Lastly, they just go over their philosophy again. Well worth the read. I think it's pretty important and pretty good idea to go through it. A couple of things I'll touch on there is the skill up philosophy, of how you level your professions. That remains the exact same. The only difference is you learn all the possible recipes you can, including dropped recipes or from vendors or anything like that. Whatever the case may be, all recipes will be learnable by around halfway through your level. The reason why I think it's 300 is from this screenshot here. Like I said, you can see the crafting skills at 292. I'm pretty sure that we'll probably see as total skill level of 300, and that way halfway through will be around the 150 mark. Halfway through being 150 is when you obviously learn all the recipes, and I have a feeling it'll be around that same time that we'll also start seeing the profession specialization open up. That would make the most sense. As I mentioned earlier in the video, sort of seems to line up. I generally think that's how that's going to happen. So learning all the recipes by halfway is going to be, yeah, just more helpful. So you're not just purely intent on rushing to the end and just getting max level before you get to do anything. You obviously can just level up much more slowly and naturally. So that's pretty good as well. Yeah, again, a few specific crafting stuff. The main thing that stands out here is these. There's a couple of things with this, issues I have with this particular part. So the first part is in reference to crafting powerful equipment like your best in slot gear. there will be some soul-bound reagents that are required. So the first one being from the actual activity itself, so dungeons, raids, and PvP, but it also says the adventuring some dangerous outdoor areas. I actually think this is okay. It means that a solo player doesn't need to be smashing out heaps of Mythic Plus or raids. Now, granted, a Mythic Raider versus someone just doing some outdoor dangerous stuff, I don't think they should get it at the same rate. I think, even though I don't raid at the moment, I'm hoping to get back into it. I do think a raider should earn more of this particular reagent currency thing than I do if I'm just doing the world boss once a week or something silly like that. You should still be able to get it, and the fact that they've added it on there is really smart, but it shouldn't be at the same rate, personally. But I'm glad they added it in. I think that's really strong. This second one is the one that pisses me off, alright? So, this second type of reagent will come from a series of quests that award enough to craft one piece of equipment. Cool. Additional stages of these quests will become available to everyone every few weeks. Why? Why time gate that? I don't understand. The fact that the challenging, difficult content is your limiting factor already. I wish I could find it. I should be able to snap to it. I probably won't be able to find it knowing that I'm like in that angry mood. They did say that it's based on like high difficulty content tiers as well. So if you're expecting a Mythic Raider to be the one getting the Mythic reagent, right? And likewise high M+ dungeons, so whether it's 15 or above or 20 or above even, now that 20 is getting some more tangible rewards as well, like the portals, for example. Yeah, that itself is already the limiting factor on how quickly someone's going to acquire. They said they're doing this particular time gating, which I fucking hate, and it's really dumb, and I don't know why they're doing it. They say down here, where is it? In addition, the quest acquired reagent mentioned above will limit how quickly you can acquire higher-end crafted gear. This will prevent it from overwhelming other sources of gear while giving you the freedom, to choose where and how quickly you want to acquire the other reagents. Dumb. I don't understand why that is a limiting factor when this is already the limiting factor. No one's going to walk into the Dragonflight, hit max level, and then immediately be able to start doing Mythic rating or M+ 20s. I don't understand why this needs to be the time-gated limiting factor when you're already sort of time-gated through the nature of doing the difficult content. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm missing something, perfectly willing to admit that, but that just seems really dumb to me. But there's also some cool vial changes. So flasks are going bye-bye, but vials come in and they're more than just stat sticks. So it's not just check the box, yes, I've got my extra strength, ooh, big deal. But there's some gameplay changing stuff as well. So we have this one as an example. Remaining stationary will increase your intellect up to 240 over 5 seconds. Movement consumes the effect and grants up to 500 speed. This is really cool. This is like a tangible change. They also explain that they've dropped the mats required for these, including dropping the duration to 30 minutes. They've done this where you can still stack up duration up to the hour if you want to, but they've done this specifically so you can tailor the vial you choose to use, different word instead of flask, but basically it's flask. You can change this based on the encounter. So in an encounter where you're moving constantly, naturally this static empowerment one won't really be that useful. But if you have a position where you're always away from allies, as you can see, at least 10 yards from allies, 225 intellect, cool. Or if you're always standing still, then you know that this will be good for that particular encounter. I actually think that's really smart and clever. For the most part, I'm massively looking forward to the profession changes. I think it's high time that we've had any sort of relevance. At the moment, again, you just craft a 262 item. You can only ever have one, which is dumb. And there's also recrafting. We know nothing about recrafting yet, but I'll be willing to bet my bottom dollar that it will function very similar to recrafting legendaries, where you want to bump it up to a higher level. We do know that it requires the current item, and then you recraft that current item you've already crafted into something else, and I guarantee you that'll be very similar to legendaries and how you got to just go, cool, here's my existing 230 something legendary, and I'm going to bump it up all the way to 291 because I've got the remaining mats required. Whether it's a 1-to-1 ratio of just providing the remaining mats and then you're good to go, who knows? But I think that's how that'll function. Honestly, professions are looking really good. Couple of little annoying nitpicks, that I hope they tidy up or at least consider changing in some way, shape or form. But yeah, there you have it. Hopefully that'll be something we get to test in the alpha that will hopefully come in the next week or so. I'll not get alpha invite, there's no way I will, but the whole point is it'll be good to start seeing everyone else kind of dive into on it. I'm excited. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Thanks for listening to me dribble shit for 25 minutes. 25 minutes is the best I could do, by the way, genuinely. I've done a 45-minute one, like a 35-minute one, a bunch of 30-something minute ones. Yeah, wow. There's a lot to go over. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.